This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth. And I have to tell you, my friends, I think that 2021 is going to be the year for gold to shine. I mean, we're seeing the commodity space rising right now. And as we continue to see more turmoil and uncertainty in the United States, potentially in the Middle East, and certainly all over the globe with COVID-19, I think a lot of people are going to continue to try to protect their assets as a hedge against potential coming calamity. And a lot of them are going to be looking into the precious metal space. And I think this may cause quite a nice spike in 2021. And joining us on the line here to help us understand just the ebb and flows of the precious metals space is Andrew Lee. He's the CEO and director of Phoenix Gold Resources. pxagold.com is the website. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us here today. Now, as I was saying, precious metals had a big year in 2020. Silver was probably one of the best performing metals. It outdid the NASDAQ 100, and perhaps coming in third place was gold. So having said all that, would you say it's safe to say that moving into 21, we are in a precious metals bull market?
Absolutely. I think it goes beyond just precious metals. I think it's a lot of commodities are seeing lots of price spikes. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about some of these other commodities, because like you said, it's not just gold and silver. There's copper, zinc. There's a whole bunch of really interesting things happening right now in the space. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely, and I think you're absolutely correct when you you were talking about, hey, how do you preserve the value of your money, right? And one of the ways you do it is by getting into other asset classes, and that's what's driving the commodity booms, shall we say.
Well, why do you think, what sort of fundamentals would you say are supporting this boom in the commodities market right now? I mean, what essentially is driving it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all the money that's been printed. No one expected the pandemic last year. I think we're about a year into it now, right? When the pandemic hit, the government's kind of freaked out a little bit and started printing money like crazy. And we saw similar things happen. Like the financial crisis wasn't that far, that long ago, right? After 2008, we saw the same sort of thing. It's that the way the money flowed then, it was a little bit different. So it took a little bit longer for the commodity markets to really rebound and appreciate. But right now, like I said, people are a little bit freaked out. They don't know where to put their money, and they're basically getting into all sorts of different things. And the natural place for money to flow is always gold. But recently, we've had some bond yields going up, ticking upwards. So people are freaking out about that. And I think it's hurt gold a little bit. But I think 6 months from now, we'll see gold at probably close to all-time highs.
Yeah, well, having said that, we do have to consider that there is rising inflation, potentially rising interest rates. Do you see that potentially continuing? And if so, what's that going to mean for the metal space?
I mean, we're at such lows right now. Quarter basis points, I don't think is going to make that big of a deal. And the way the governments have already indicated that, they're not really in a position to want to raise rates too quickly, because then it just stalls everything that we've built up so far. Do I think the economy is going to come back? Absolutely. Like, as soon as the vaccines and some of these quarantine measures ease up, we're going to be right back at it. But that's great for drivers that's going to be a great driver for commodities like copper. I mean, copper is one of these metals. It's a base metal that's so important in so many ways. Construction, I think 40% of copper use is used in construction. Now you have EV cars, you've got the whole green economy that's happening. So it's only going to help the price of these commodities like copper. And like you were talking about silver is a industrial metal as well, not just a precious metal. So, I personally think gold is also driven by demand, jewelry. As people have more money, they're going to want to put their money into things like jewelry. So I think that's why we're going to see much stronger commodity prices and a bit of a commodity bull market for companies who are involved in commodities.
Yeah, and what about the idea of the need for batteries moving forward? And what's that going to do to the market as people continue to drive up a demand for the need of these, I suppose, lithium-ion batteries?
Yeah, absolutely. And each electric car that's a plug-in, is probably about 200 pounds of copper. I think most people just associate electric cars as with lithium, but like a lot of times the anodes are copper, and even electrical components. Then you got the charging stations. So it's just this whole transition that we're going to see that plays very well into copper and zinc. I mean,
Yeah.
those two are base metals that, as let's just say, as growth happens globally, it's the demand just continues to go up. And right now we've got a deficit situation.
Yeah, well, that's why I think it's important to be getting involved with the precious metal space, especially now as we seem to be in this infancy of major, major things about to explode and take off. So let's talk a little bit about the company, Phoenix Gold Resources, that you founded. You've got projects in Nevada, you've got projects in Canada. What would you say is unique about the two sites you currently have?
Well, the unique feature about the properties that we have is each of those sites were had some form of operation. Down in Nevada, the Plumas as well as the El Dorado, they've had some form of small scale mining. The project that we just acquired in York Harbor, which is in Newfoundland, and the York Harbor mine mined out copper back in the 1800s, late 1800s. I think about 90,000 tons of ore was extracted, and the grade of copper was, very high, somewhere between 3 to 12% and about 7% zinc. So we're very excited about both projects. It covers two separate commodity classes. You got one that's really more driven by what's happening right now in terms of uncertainty in the world, like gold. And then you have the other side, which is coming on, copper, really driven by demand.
Speaking of this uncertainty, I mean, I know just recently, Biden was essentially sending some bombs over Syria. That got the war drums beaten. And I know a lot of times when these things start to happen, a lot of people that I know are looking into things like Bitcoin, gold, and silver. Do you see troubling times coming, not just in the U.S., potentially in the Middle East, but all over the world? And if so, is it a good idea to protect yourself as a hedge into the precious metal space?
Yeah, I think so, because um, the monetary policies and sort of the printing of money has been from all of the central banks. It wasn't just the US bank, it was the Canadian, it was European. So you're going to see sort of this devaluation of currency as a whole. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you want to try to maintain value. And the only way you can really do it is by taking cash and putting it into a different asset class. And that's why you're seeing the appreciation of so many of these commodities that are related to fiscal monetary policies.
Well, a lot of people have wisely been moving their assets over and investing with you in particular. Who would you say are Phoenix Gold's major shareholders right now?
We restructured the company last year. Insiders, management, we control a little over 20%. Our close associates, probably, I'd say more than half of the stock is in good hands right now. And, they believe in what we have started and what we're doing right now. So I think this is just kind of the start of where we'd like to get to. One of the key moves that we had was to acquire the York Harbor mine. And, I think that property has very prospective. We plan on doing some work there as soon as the snow melts. And, we want to build up value. And the best way to do that is through exploration, drilling, and to prove up the value of the resource in the ground.
Okay, well, is that essentially what people can expect for the third and fourth quarter of 2021? Or what would you say are your current milestones to date? And what are you hoping to achieve by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think our milestones to date was really restructuring the company and getting in the right place for growth. Now that we have two projects that we are very keen about, we've got exposure to gold in Nevada, and now we have a copper zinc project here in Newfoundland, which is, I think, with a little bit of work, we could easily prove up a resource. We have a historical resource there anyway, so it gives us the guidance that if we kind of follow the work program that was done by Noranda, I think we could kind of get to the same level and just bring it into current 43101 standards.
Are you more excited about one over the other, or is that kind of like comparing twin babies? You just love them?
Yeah, I think it's like comparing twin babies. But yeah, I mean, today everyone's talking about copper, and with the green economy, copper is definitely going to be a major factor in, I guess, the revolution that's happening, especially in the electric car space.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of my viewers are very interested in protecting their assets as a hedge against coming troubling times. And they are also forward thinkers. They see where the world is going in terms of the electric car market and when it comes to copper and other precious metals. So that's probably why they're watching this video right now. And if they're interested in learning more from you, how can they do that? Is there a place that they can go online directly if they want to learn more from you and get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. They can connect by sending an email to pxagold@gmail.com. I will respond back. As long as you don't send me hate mail, that's, I'm good. But yeah, no, I'm very accessible. I would love to connect with your audience and, just to talk about assets in general, world conditions, all those things.
Perfect. Well, I strongly encourage people to check you out. I'm going to have links in the description below, and if you do start receiving any kind of hate in the near future, just know it's probably because you're on target and you're saying the right things. It's usually when you're ruffling some feathers that you get that, but it's because you're doing the right thing. So I just want to encourage you to keep it up, man. Once again, thanks for talking to us today to help us understand the precious metal space, and you take care.
Great. Thanks so much, Dan.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.